Pipeline Beach on the North Shore of Oahu is one of the most famous surf spots anywhere in the world. During the winter, when the waves are giant, surfers come from all around the planet to ride these incredible waves. In the summertime, it's as flat as a lake on the North Shore of Oahu. As a marine biologist, I often dive the area to document the health of the coral reef and marine life. The inside reef, where most of the people surf at, goes out about a half of a mile. It starts at about 3 feet deep and drops down in the outside to about 30 to 40 feet deep. On the inside reef, when the waves are up in the wintertime, surfers surf in about 3 feet deep of water. Some of the best surfers in the world flock to Pipeline because you can surf right off the beach and watch it from the beach. It really makes it an incredible event. Depending on the swell direction, the waves in the wintertime can break in both directions. Sometimes they go to the right and sometimes they go to the left. The inner reef at Pipeline is just covered with these crazy rock formations, these pinnacles that are carved by the giant waves. These rocks actually are old fossilized coral that's been built up over millions of years. The reef is just completely laced with a whole bunch of caves and these coral pinnacles. And in some places, the reef kind of looks like Swiss cheese. It has so many holes in it that go underneath the reef, some of them big enough to swim through. This makes it actually incredibly dangerous to surf these areas because when the surfers fall off and it's only 3 feet deep, they can bonk their heads on these pinnacles or get washed into some of these caves where one could drown. This kind of makes Pipeline one of the most dangerous surf spots anywhere in the world. When I scuba dive during the summertime out there, it's super fascinating to see how the big waves in the winter actually carve this old fossilized coral reef into these amazing shapes. Some of them look like underwater waves. This one looks like some big mouth of a dinosaur or some strange creature. There is no coral that grows on the inside reef at Pipeline because the sand moves on and off the reef on a regular basis, sometimes completely covering the inside reef. That makes it impossible for the corals to grow there. The corals actually grow on the outer reef where it's about 20 to 40 feet deep. That makes it incredible habitat for all kinds of different marine life. And these corals on the outer reef actually create the drag on the underside of a wave to make the wave break. That's super important because if the waves are breaking on the outer reef, then they don't bypass the reef and expend all of their energy on the beach, which causes a massive amount of erosion. On the outer reef are these big caves where there's all kinds of cool creatures that live there, like the red aveo and this barred triggerfish. The live corals on the outside of the reef are incredibly important because they cause the drag underneath the wave and makes a wave actually bend. Then when the wave hits the inside reef, it's a good shape, of which we would call a peak. If the reef on the outside didn't have the corals, there wouldn't be as good a rideable surf on the inside, so they're both incredibly related. And then once again, the corals on the outer reef cause the wave to break so it doesn't hit the beach and tear up all the sand and cause a bunch of erosion. Surfers completely thrive on the waves on the inside when they're good shape because it makes it more fun to ride. Our beaches on the North Shore of Oahu are made up of ground up sand, coral, and shells. That's why they're so beautiful and absolutely bright white. It's really important that we have the healthy coral reef to make good, healthy beaches. Our parrotfish that live here, they're called uhu in Hawaii. They actually eat a lot of the live coral and then they poop out the sand. This sand washes up onto the beach and makes our beautiful beaches. So without the live coral and the parrotfish, we would not have our beautiful beaches here on the North Shore of Oahu. The sand on the beach and the reefs here at Pipeline changes quite quickly. depending on the surf and the direction of the waves. One day the beach can be really large, and the next day almost completely gone. Sand movement changes often here on the North Shore, especially during the winter, and that's what creates the quality surf. Many human activities can kill a coral reef. One is the U.S. military activity along the coastline. The military here is testing microwave and electromagnetic weapons along the North Shore of Oahu. With their ships, helicopters, and submarines, they're discharging electricity into the coral reef. This electricity causes a current running through the coral that breaks down the calcium carbonate structure of the coral. The outer reef at Pipeline is almost completely dead now due to this electrical discharge into the reef. It actually causes the corals to die and they dissolve. When the corals die, the waves bypass the reef more often and hit directly onto the beach, causing a massive amount of erosion. The big waves hitting the beach that could have been breaking out on the reef are causing a lot of damage to the local homeowners, businesses, and even our local highways here. It also completely changes the shape of the waves when you lose the corals. These homeowners have been forced to bring in sand and backhoes to put out onto the beach to try to save their homes from falling into the ocean. A lot of this is directly related to the dying coral reef on the outer reefs. When those corals start to die on the outer reefs, once again, the waves don't break on the outer reef as much. They come in, they tear up the beach, and then the homeowners have to try to save their homes. When the corals die on the outer reef at Pipeline, the reef lowers. Much more of the energy of the wave comes over the outer reef and hits the inner reef, which is not actually good for the quality of the surf. Pipeline is incredibly famous for its surf contests. The Pipe Masters, the Volcom contests, all these contests bring thousands of people and a lot of money comes into the North Shore of Oahu. Famous surfers from around the world come to be in these contests. One of the problems, if we let the outer reefs die, is that potentially is going to change the quality of the wave here at Pipeline, which is not good. Also, if the outer reefs die, then we're going to have a lot more wear and tear on the beach, which is going to remove the beaches. So it's super important that we find out and take care of our outer reefs here along the North Shore of Oahu so these damages don't occur and the beaches all become closed.